Hello, everybody. It's me, Ash. I was trying to take it easy today. Wasn't actually planning on popping on here, but I've been hearing from a bunch of different people about this recent coverage by ABC News of the Russia ban on Jehovah's Witnesses, and I thought that would be like a conversation worth having. Because I definitely have, at least, in my personal circle of friends, I have uh, those who are, very disappointed in the fact that there is a ban, um, and those who are almost gleeful about the fact that there is a ban. So I do have I have friends on both sides of this, and oh hey, Southern Boss Lady. Hope you're having a good weekend so far. Yeah, so I did get sent a video. I don't think I'm gonna play it because I'm pretty sure everybody's seen it, and if they haven't, well, I mean, I'll probably end up putting the link. I should have put the link in the description already, but I'll probably end up doing that. Let's see here. Where is it? Yeah, it's this video that I keep getting directed to about the ban. The ABC News coverage of the ban, and they paint a pretty depressing picture. I mean, I could see why people, who have no familiarity with the cult other than they're just some folks that that knock on your doors on the weekends and sometimes during the week, and they seem like, other than being strict Christians, more so than the average Christian, they seem like just some of them, or a lot of these people probably think they're nice people. Oh, that's good. I'm glad you're doing great, and I'm trying to feel better. I have a little complication from surgery, so it's kind of slowing things down. But I'm getting there. Thank you, appreciate that. Now, I'm not saying that Jehovah's Witnesses, that there are zero nice people that are Jehovah's Witnesses, because that would just be dishonest. That's not true. There are nice Jehovah's Witnesses. And I know, like, even some of my own friends would they would probably hear me say that and be like, you can't be serious. Jehovah's Witnesses are all terrible. They're all culpable. Every last one of them is bad. And it's funny because I actually had a discussion with a lady that I was taking a Lyft ride with. I think she was taking me to my doctor's appointment, and I was telling her about the activism and stuff that I've done in the past, and telling her about all the reasons that I do that activism, all the things wrong with the cult, and everything that the cult is guilty of. And when I say the cult, I mean the organization itself, not I don't mean the individual members, or especially the low-ranking members. I mean like the organization, the people in charge of making the policies, the people that are in charge of, and the reason why, the main reason why these child abusers are getting swept under the rug, and why people are being exploited, and why this stuff is allowed to continue. So I was telling her all about all of that, and she was like, "Wow, they sound really bad." And then she asked me, "But not all of them are bad, right?" And I said, "Well, no, actually." I said, "No, not all Jehovah's Witnesses are bad, because if that were true, I wouldn't waste my time going to the Kingdom Halls to try to warn them." And that's true. I wouldn't. I mean, it wouldn't make any sense. If I thought everybody in the cult were bad, what would be the point in me going to the Kingdom Hall and trying to let people know what was going on in the cult? I mean, not everybody that has been sucked in and duped by the cult, went in there thinking, yes, I want to be a part of something that harms people and that puts children in danger, like simply by virtue of being there, and that exploits people and stuff. So, I highly doubt, like, literally every person is like that. I'm sure there are some people, some, like, maybe sociopaths, maybe some narcissistic personality types that, that's the kind of environment that they thrive in, so they're drawn to it. So they're like, yes, okay, yeah, I wanna join this thing. This seems like this is something that would actually be a good environment for me. I would do well here. Or like if like people always mention, maybe a pedophile or something would join and be like, yeah, these people seem pretty naive and trusting, and this seems like the perfect place for me to find more victims. So yeah, I can see like a handful of people just being overtly evil like that and being like, yes, yeah, I want to join this so I can do some bad things, or just so I can control people or be on top or whatever. Now, here's where it gets tricky. I don't think that the witnesses, like, just the average rank and file people, I don't think that they should be rounding them up like that and arresting them and all the crap that they're doing to them. Not necessarily, no. But it does bother me when there are people in the comments section saying that, oh, they're arresting, all these innocent people. Jehovah's Witnesses don't do anything bad. They're just normal and they just worship they just worship God and stuff, and they're a little more strict than the rest of people, but like they otherwise, are pretty harmless. That's what gets to me. I'm like, yeah, no, the organization is very harmful. Now, I'm not trying to say that Russia is out there like fully aware of the kind of damage that the cult actually does, and that's why they're banning them. I don't really think so. I think it has more to do with them trying to get everybody to go along with their strict Orthodox Christianity stuff that they got going on there. They're trying to make a return to a former way of a way of being over there. So, as much as it's probably really satisfying to a lot of us Ex-JWs to hear that, the cult isn't being tolerated over there and that they're being treated, like a criminal organization, because the organization, yes, is a criminal organization. I don't know that it's so good that that individual Jehovah's Witnesses are being rounded up like that, because I would imagine that a good portion of the people that they're rounding up and arresting actually haven't committed any crimes and may not even be at risk of doing so. It's entirely possible that they're innocent, the ones that they're picking up. I'm not saying I know for sure, because I know that there are plenty of criminals in Jehovah's Witnesses. I know that from both personal experience and other people's experiences that have been shared with me. So, honestly, there may be like a handful of people that they've picked up that that are criminals, and that it's good that they nabbed them when they did, because maybe they were doing some stuff. But there are probably also a lot of innocent people being arrested, being put in jail, being forcibly committed to psychiatric hospitals, that that didn't do anything except for naively be part of an organization that is bad without them realizing it. Yeah. And remember, a lot of the people that are in it, I mean, I would say that like nearly everybody in there, with maybe a small, teeny tiny percentage of a few, nearly everybody in there is completely brainwashed. And even if you did try to tell them, and again, I know this from experience, even if you did try to tell them, hey, you're in a criminal organization, and here's X, Y, and Z list of things that they do and that they enable, they would still be in denial about it. Does that mean that they're bad people? Not necessarily. I mean, there is a certain extent, where, like, no matter how brainwashed you are, like, you're just faced with so much blatant evidence that it's kind of impossible to deny at that point, which is how we end up here, us Ex-JWs. This is how we've ended up where we are in most cases. Like, we were confronted with such a mountain of evidence that the cognitive dissonance was just too much, and we just couldn't, there was just no way we could deny it anymore. We couldn't bury ourselves in our, in our delusion any longer. It just wasn't possible. And I think, I think that like that's the line right there, is like, there are people who are confronted with that level of evidence, and then they do realize, internally they realize, okay, yeah, this might actually be bad, but they still stay anyway for various reasons. Not all of them nefarious or anything. Some of it is literally just they don't want to be wrong. Those are people that I think have some questionable moral character at the very least. You can say that they have questionable moral character, if not them being outright nefarious in their intentions. But then there's people that they feel like they have to stick around for their family or their their support system, and they would literally be alone. I mean, it's a scary concept, thinking of having to leave behind everything you've ever known. I mean, especially if you were born into it. And then there's the children. That's really who I think about the most in this situation. What's happening to the children from these families where the Jehovah's Witnesses are being arrested or committed forcibly to psychiatric hospitals. I mean, on the one hand, like I mentioned earlier, maybe it's good that their parents were taken away. Maybe their parents were doing something bad to them, so now they're safe. Or perhaps they're not. I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but I have been in foster care as a child. I was in foster care, and I got separated from my brothers. They went to a different foster home. Horrible experience, absolutely horrible. My foster parents were abusive. Fortunately, not in the sexual way, but they were abusive. And my brother's foster family, they were very neglectful. I don't even know how they were allowed to be foster parents, either of ours. So yeah, I mean, if these children are being put in like group homes or government shelters or even placed in foster care, they could be put in another equally if not more dangerous situation. And what if their parents weren't doing anything bad to them? What if they were in a, albeit indoctrinated, but otherwise fairly safe home, What if their parents were like, I don't know. There's just so many what ifs. So it's hard for me to be like, yeah, screw those witnesses. I'm glad that they're being rounded up and arrested and banned and being forced into the mental hospital. Although I will say, being put in a mental hospital um, may not be the worst thing for some of them, because I remember as a witness, I definitely needed some mental help that I wasn't getting because it was like really, really frowned upon to be going to the psych. Um, but but then again, also having experienced being in a psych ward before by force, not by choice. By choice, it's been different. By choice, it was actually in most cases a good experience. But by force, I mean, I just had an experience not that long ago. Not not that long ago. It was like a year or so ago, where I did end up in a hospital, in a psychiatric hospital, by force. Um, I mean, I guess I don't know how to explain it, but like without getting into any detail, really, the reason I ended up in there, it was a well-meaning thing, not from the people who actually dragged me in there, but from the perspective of the person who sought out the help for me in the first place. It was a well-meaning gesture, but traumatic. It is traumatic to be hauled off um, by force, and in a lot of these cases, in handcuffs. I know I was actually forcibly put in a hospital when I was 12, where I was actually handcuffed in front of my school. And it was for saying something pretty innocuous. I said I wanted to fall off the face of the earth, and they interpreted that as a suicide threat. I wasn't threatening suicide. That's not what, like 100%, I did not mean that as a suicide threat. I was just a 12-year-old and I was very frustrated. And maybe one day I'll tell the story of how that happened, because then you'll understand, like, yeah, I was just frustrated. It had like no suicidal intention behind it whatsoever. I mean, you'll be frustrated when you hear the story. But anyway, I digress. The point is, it was traumatic. It is traumatic to be dragged off and forcibly hospitalized, and especially made worse by depending on what hospital you end up in. Because let me just tell you right now, if you haven't had any experience in psychiatric hospitals, the county hospital or the state hospital, not a fun place. You might as well, I mean, it's like just barely a step up from jail. Not that I've been to jail, because I literally never have been, but from what I've been told from family members who have been to jail, and friends who've been to jail, for random shit. I don't have any friends that have been to jail for anything serious. I'm talking about like, just we're talking about like DUI shit or whatever. But like, yeah, from what I understand, the county and state hospitals are like just barely a step up from jail, and I believe that, having been in both types. So yeah, private hospitals, way different experience. Um, and if that's where they were taking, the witnesses that they were rounding up and forcibly committing, I mean, I wouldn't feel quite as bad for them. I mean, it still sucks to have to go to anywhere against your will. And I don't know what the intention is with the Russians doing that to them. Like, they made it sound in the video like they were gonna try to pressure them mentally or something. So maybe it's like, maybe they do some kind of deprogramming shit in there. And if that's the case, that's not so bad, deprogramming them. But again, personal freedom, and I think that would like I would worry that would kind of like play into the JW persecution crap. And I hate saying that because people say that about the protests that I do, that it just plays into the JW persecution complex. But I mean, that's literally what they make freaking videos about them getting rounded up by the cops and all this shit. I mean, they're just watching what they think, has been prophesied come to life right before their eyes. And it sucks because witnesses in the rest of the world look at that and they're like, aha, I knew we were in the truth. And again, people say that about my protests too. They're like, oh, you're just playing into their persecution thing. And when they see you doing that stuff, they just see that they're right and everything. And I disagree. I mean, I don't do anything forcible. I don't force my presence on them either. I show up to places that I'm either implicitly or explicitly invited, and I leave when I am asked, and I don't do anything violent, and I just tell them the truth. That's pretty much it. My intentions are always good. And I don't try to take away any personal freedoms from them either. But yeah. I don't know. This is a really complicated subject. I understand why people feel the way they do. I understand why people are happy to see the cult being banned. Because, I mean, who wouldn't be happy to see something, a dangerous organization being, stomped out? Like, I mean, honestly, that's what a lot of us activists want. We want the cult to go away forever. There are some activists who are like, I just want the policies changed. I don't want the witnesses to go away. But, me personally, I would like to see the organization completely dissolve and no longer exist. But like this, with the government hauling people off like that and throwing them in jail and throwing them in mental hospitals, like, I don't know if that's how I want that to happen. It just seems kind of wrong, Now, I'm not going to say like some other people have said in the past and say that you're mentally ill if you think that the Russian ban is okay. Because again, I can totally understand where people are coming from who think that that the Russian ban is a good thing. But I can also understand people who are like, no, that's really bad because that's all the reasons I just said. Or that's just bad because you're taking away their personal freedom. Now, I will say that some people from that first side will probably counter with, yeah, well, you don't have the freedom. I mean, personal freedom doesn't matter when you're abusing little kids and stuff. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I get both sides. I wouldn't want to allow an organization to exist. This is why I want it to go away. I don't want an organization to exist where there's plenty of opportunity for somebody to cause harm. Now, unfortunately, the reality of life is that everything in the world, everywhere in the world, every organization in the world, every religion in the world, no matter what you do or how you regulate it, there are opportunities for people involved to cause harm. Take YouTube, for instance. YouTube exists, and YouTube is annoyingly very highly regulated. Like, to the point where you can't use certain language, to the point where you can't show certain stuff, to the point where it's just very highly regulated. I mean, especially if you're trying to monetize it. I don't personally monetize my videos. and I keep meaning to say this, if you happen to see ads on my videos, it's because there's something in my video that is probably copyrighted. So they just slap ads on your video without your permission. Actually, last year, I think as of November, YouTube started putting ads on people's videos against their will, regardless of what content is in there. So there are probably ads on my damn videos now that I don't even know about. So that's nice. And no, I'm not making money off of it. That's the stupid part of that, is that YouTube is allowed to put ads on anybody's videos now, even people that aren't part of the partner program, and they don't see any money from those ads whatsoever, unless they're signed up with the partner program. So that's annoying. So people like me who would prefer that there aren't any ads on their videos and that their videos are not in any way monetized, we don't have that choice anymore. So yeah, YouTube, being what it is, being regulated the way it is highly regulated, highly controlled and whatever, but there are still people that use it for harm. There's, like every other day, I see a video of some, I hate this word, some influencer, from YouTube or wherever the hell, and how they groomed, teenage kids, or even younger, prepubescent kids, through social media because the kid was a fan of theirs or whatever. So they leveraged their influence over them and got them to do horribly inappropriate things with them, and groomed them and shit, and even in some cases took advantage of them in person. So yeah, and then there's that whole thing. I don't know if you've heard that on YouTube for a while there was a surge of pedos. Like, they would comment on videos of children, just normal, innocent, normal videos of children, and they would comment different timestamps of inappropriate things. What was in the video technically wouldn't be inappropriate, but they would comment at a moment in the video where maybe the kid is bending over or something, and it's a totally innocent thing, but they're like, oh, look at this kid bending over or whatever, stuff like that, trying to make things creepy and gross. So I mean, people will do anything in any situation, is what I'm trying to say. But in Jehovah's Witnesses, we all know that it's especially dangerous. Like the way that things are in the organization, they enable this kind of stuff to happen, and they even doubled down on it after it's been pointed out to them and said, we're never going to change our policies. Sorry about it, but we're not going to do it. We know that this stuff happens. We have records, decades and decades and decades of records of this stuff happening. We know there's a systemic issue, but we're not going to stop it. We're going to let it keep happening. Not only in spite of internal outrage, from members themselves, but also external outrage from ex-members, members of the public who aren't actually involved with Jehovah's Witnesses, litigators, lawmakers, everybody, they're like, yeah, we know, we've seen the evidence, we've seen the numbers. I mean, we have the blue envelopes and we're not going to release them. But yeah, we're also not going to change our policies. So yeah, I'm believe me, I would more than anything, out of all the possible outcomes of what could happen with Jehovah's Witnesses. I would personally relish seeing them completely dismantled. But I don't know. I don't know. Something feels wrong about just the way that things are happening in Russia. Them being nabbed and stuff from their homes, indiscriminately. Like, it would be one thing if Russia was like, yeah, we're going to find out which ones of you are doing crimes in the cult and which ones of you are enabling it. Like, if they were arresting elders, that wouldn't piss me off so much. I'd be like, good. They know what's up. They know what they're doing. If you make it to elder, you know what's happening. All right? Like, don't even try to play like you don't know what's going on for real. If you have risen to the rank of elder, you are aware of how they handle things. You know. And you are responsible for the shit that's being covered up, in my personal opinion. So yeah, I wouldn't be too pissed off if they were, picking up elders specifically, and also picking up, some of the rank and file who they know are, committing crimes and stuff like that. And if they were trying to, to get mental health help to people, in the cult, that were in need of it. Honestly, I think all of them probably need it. Without making it traumatizing, that would be cool too. If they were like, hey, if you're part of the Jehovah's Witnesses, we are asking that you complete, I just whatever, a certain amount of therapy, and just kind of see where you are mentally and assess you and try to get you any help that you may need. It doesn't have to be like a traumatizing ass, like, we're gonna throw your ass in the freaking quiet room at the psych ward and we're gonna dose you with some freaking Halidol, knock you on your ass, and then we're gonna sleep teach your ass to be a normal Russian citizen. Like, I don't know. It's just creepy. I mean, if they did that kind of stuff here in the US, I think people would absolutely lose it. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, it still bothers me. Hold on, let's go look at those comments actually, because let me see here. I don't even know why I bother putting the chat on the screen in this case, because look at because you can't see the chat because of the stupid YouTube videos on the side. Oh well, it doesn't matter. Let's see. Let's have a look. So, comments on this video. Like, of course somebody's always got to make it a freaking politics thing. I mean, it probably is a politics thing for all I know. With on Russia's end anyway, it probably has something to do with politics. I know that they definitely want their Christian Orthodox thing to come back into prominence. Yeah, I remember this. Didn't Putin congratulate a Jehovah's Witness family with honors about 3 years ago? Yeah, I remember that. They gave him like a parenting award. Now, this is the kind of shit that I'm talking about. What the fuck, Russia? Extremists? How so? People clearly don't know. Jehovah's Witnesses are extremist, in my opinion. They are. Whether that warrants the type of action being taken, I can't say. I would probably do things differently. Like I said, if it were up to me, I would be doing things a little differently. I would just dismantle the organization itself. Of course, I don't even know what that would look like in practice, because how do you stop? How do you stop an organization? I mean, this is probably how Russia is like, you know what? We can tell them to stop meeting, and we can seize their kingdom halls, but we can't really stop them unless we like literally pick them all up and like put them in concentration camps or whatever it is they're doing. I know they're just like, I think that from what I understand, they're just putting them in jail and putting them in mental hospitals. But like, that's another thing. People are comparing this to the Holocaust, which is also, it's also a little upsetting, because this is not quite like that. It's not exactly the same. I mean, they're not killing them. I don't know. There's just so much problematic shit to dig through. Let me see here. Yeah. Let me see here. Reminds me of when the Jews were persecuted in Russia. Same behavior didn't target. History rhymes with the past, and we are seeing it here. Yep, see, this is what I'm talking about. This is just going to make their persecution complex even worse. This is so sad. Yeah, a lot of people are going to sympathize with Jehovah's Witnesses when they see this crap. This is another reason why I wanted to talk about this, is because I think it was a little irresponsible for ABC News to do a story on this, to do a piece on this, without also talking about the problematic nature of the Jehovah's Witness organization. Like, they didn't mention that at all. They didn't say, oh yeah, so by the way, to be fair, witnesses, because I think they probably would have been afraid of saying that stuff, because they wouldn't want to make it sound like, like that's a good enough reason to do this stuff to them. Like, yes, it's okay to to illegally arrest people and abduct them and forcibly hospitalize them because of the policies of the organization that they're a part of. I mean, gosh, I don't know. See, like, I don't think that Jehovah's Witnesses, like the average Jehovah's Witness, the people that they're arresting, I don't think a lot of them realize all of the stuff that us activists fight against. I don't think they realize, like, that there's so much child abuse being covered up. Because remember, they aren't supposed to be looking at the apostate news articles and the satanic news stories and whatever that cover these kinds of topics. So they aren't supposed to find out, anything about any cover-ups. They don't know, and they don't think that they're doing anything bad by shunning their family members. They see that, like, if their family member kills themselves because they haven't been talking to them, and they feel depressed and stuff, and they feel abandoned, they view that as, oh well, Satan got to him. What can you do? I tried to get him back to Jehovah, but they were too spiritually weak, and that's it. Maybe I'll see him in paradise. Jehovah reads hearts and stuff, so maybe they'll still show up in paradise. I gotta leave it in Jehovah's hands. I'm sure you all remember that crap. Yeah, I don't think they realize that, that the blood doctrine is completely unscriptural, and that it's just bullshit that Jehovah's Witnesses twist in order to kind of differentiate themselves from other sects of Christianity. It's horrible. So a lot of these people really think that they are just doing what God wants them to. And And yes, people can be so brainwashed that it completely clouds their judgment and even suppresses their humanity, their natural humanity. Their ingrained um, sense of humanity toward one another. I mean, this is why people like my grandmother, who is in the documentary, and this will come up in the documentary. I think they're going to use that part where I talk to her at the door. This is why people like my grandmother, who she's otherwise a really, she's a pretty normal person. I think she's got some mental health stuff going on, but like this is why people like her, who my whole life I remember her saying my mother was her favorite child, even though you're not supposed to have favorite children. I mean, well, in Jehovah's Witnesses, they say that you love your children differently, that you don't love them all the same, whatever. But yeah, she would like openly proclaim that my mom was her favorite child out of all her 5 children. This is why people like my grandmother can say something like that and believe it and feel it and still allow their child to die by refusing blood on their behalf. So, I mean, you have to remember we're dealing with that kind of brainwashing, that level of brainwashing that just it suppresses you of your sense of humanity, completely strips you of what would be normal, like natural human qualities that we have. It really does do that to you. And if they're like that deluded, I don't know. It's just it's just really hard. Like, anyway, sorry. Yeah, I am disappointed in ABC News for not mentioning um, that Jehovah's Witnesses as an organization, not necessarily the individual members, that the organization is is problematic, that they have a lot of really serious issues, and that yeah, they are extremist. But I imagine, like I said earlier, that the reason they probably didn't say that is because they didn't want to come off as being supportive of, you know, of illegally arresting people and putting them forcibly in mental hospitals. But yeah, I think the reason that I was talking about just now about how, like, about the level of brainwashing is because, I'm hearing one of my friends, in my mind saying, oh, well, screw them, they all know what kind of religion they're in. They're all bad. They made the choice to be in that. I mean, well, the adults, not the children, of course, but yeah, they know better. They know what their policies are. They know what they're doing when they shun people. They know what they're doing when they refuse blood. They know that it can kill them. They know that there's child abuse in their organization. In fact, I mean, that is true. I've had witnesses admit to me at cart crashes and and whatnot that yeah, like every organization, every religion, every organization has predators in it. Nobody's perfect. Blah 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 blah. I mean, my response to them is usually, well, if y'all are if y'all are actually God's organization, then shouldn't you like not have that, or at least have like the lowest instance of that at the very least? But yeah. But I don't really think I don't think that a lot of them, like, they may on a basic, like, surface level know these things, but, like, on a deep human level, I don't think they connect the dots. I think that the brainwashing kind of causes a disconnect to where, like, yeah, okay, intellectually, I know that the organization I'm a part of has this rule where there have to be 2 witnesses before we'll report stuff to the police about child abuse. But, like, I don't think they make the connection in here about the implications of that. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. But, like, it's kind of like what I was just saying earlier. There's, like, a disconnect of their humanity, and the way that they kind of just operate on autopilot with their programming. So, does that make them innocent? Again, that's tricky. Not necessarily, no. Because, like I said earlier, even earlier, like, after a certain point, you're confronted with so much evidence that, like, there's really only, like, you have to know. You have to know. The connection has to be made, and at that point, you either stick around for whatever reason you have, knowing that you're in an organization that is actually really dangerous and problematic, or you leave. And yeah, let me see here. Such a tough subject. It really is. It really, really is. Like I said, I can totally understand why people would have the negative feelings they do toward all adult Jehovah's Witnesses and say, yeah, well, screw them. They shouldn't be part of that organization then. They should know better. If they weren't part of a criminal organization, then they wouldn't be getting picked up and arrested, and that's what happens. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. But I feel like I understand that, but I also feel like you have to have kind of a disconnect there to have that kind of opinion too. Like, you have to be a little disconnected from your own humanity, just a little bit, and not be thinking about the nuances that I mentioned, like the level of brainwashing, and like how not all of these people really realize that stuff. I mean, there are even adult witnesses that are in there that probably are in there against their will. Like, they're probably, I mean, I don't know if y'all have heard of financial abuse. It's a form of abuse, often in romantic relationships between spouses, where one spouse will be domineering financially over the other, and they'll use the fact that that person can't get a job, or doesn't have a job, or whatever, or is disabled and would not be able to work, and they use that to control them. So, if that person tried to leave the cult, they wouldn't be able to. They would literally end up on the street, or have an extremely difficult time otherwise. Or maybe they're a young adult who, they don't have the resources, support system, or anything, because they've been isolated their whole life, and they can't leave their family yet. Even though they are technically a legal adult, they can't leave their family yet. It's not easy. I mean, people act, people can be very crass and act like, oh, well, you found out the truth. Why don't you just leave? It's that easy. Leave. If you stay, you're an asshole because you know what's going on, so leave. It's not always that simple. And some of these people being arrested could be young adults that are not in a situation or a position where they can just leave, and so they have to be part of this crap with their parents still, because they're still living at home. And or maybe they're not even like going to meetings, but they just happen to live with their parents and they get rounded up with them. That's a possibility too. There's just like a lot that you have to think about when you're looking at this situation. It's really hard for me to know all the things I just said, to think about all the things that I've just said, and still be like, yeah, screw them all. Good. I'm glad they're all getting arrested. Round those bastards up. Screw the organization. They choose to be part of that crap, then they deserve what's coming to them. I don't know. Let me see here. Let's see if there's any more. There's like a lot of these comments are like, shame on Russia. Russia's bad. The president of Russia doesn't care. Russia is a Christian nation with Orthodox faith. There is no need cults from North America to Russia. What? This evangelicals and Jehovah Witness people should go to Muslim or pagan countries for teaching instead of coming towards Catholic Orthodox faith majority. I don't even... Okay. Whatever. Disgusting treatment of God-fearing people. JW are a cult and not true Christians. Yeah, they are a cult. There are people in these comments, I know there are because I've seen like a few of them replying to people, trying to correct them. Like this guy says, catch real criminals please, and then somebody replies, you didn't grow up in that cult. Learn about what they do before you dismiss them as innocent. And then the guy replies, if they're criminals, they're in the bottom of the pyramid. The real criminals out there in this here, there are real criminals out there in this here Russia, like Putin. Okay, some of these people aren't very good at expressing what they're trying to say, but I think you get the general meaning. This person's trying to say that the Jehovah's Witnesses that are being arrested are, if they are criminals, that they're somehow less culpable because they're at the bottom of the pyramid, which is sort of what I was saying. I'm not saying they're less culpable. I'm just saying, one, that it's less likely that the people that they're arresting are the ones the most responsible for the shit that's going on. But also, that they might literally just be so brainwashed that they don't know. It's really tricky. It's really hard to place blame and to know where to place blame, know where that line is when we're dealing with brainwashed people. Yes, some of them did make the choice to join the cult. Some of them did make the choice to join the cult. But I don't know that everybody really signed up, to be part of a criminal organization, knowing that it's a criminal organization. I think that once they were in, that's how they get you. They lead you in little by little. And then, and then before you know it, you realize you're in a criminal organization. I mean, maybe you don't realize that. That's the thing. Some of them don't really realize that. But once you do, that's where I start thinking, like, you might be kind of responsible. At that point, I start questioning, your moral character a bit. But again, that's situational. Let's see here. I'm going to check the comments because I haven't been looking at the chat this whole time. I've been looking on that comments section over there on the page, so I'm going to check it out right now. Daniel Archer says, leave it in Jehovah's hands. Why would the org declare Russia the king of the North and due for destruction if they wanted this fixed? I don't feel the org's efforts to fight for rights are legit. They make such strange choices that undo sincere effort to help the Russian members. What? Oh, I think you meant undo. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. That's a good point. Their efforts to fight for rights aren't probably not legit. It's probably just propaganda to to help keep people brainwashed and be like, see, look, we are persecuted. We should fight this. They're not spending their money on trying to help the witnesses over there. They barely help their own members when it's like a disaster. Hell, I remember in my own congregation, they would barely help the elderly members, with stuff that they needed. They mostly help you until you're baptized. That's what they do. They'll love bomb you and they'll help you and they'll offer you rides and meals and whatever the hell you need, even literally clothes for the meeting or whatever. They'll offer you all kinds of help right up until you get baptized. Then you're on your own. That's because they already got what they were after. So, yeah, I don't think they're too worried about helping any witnesses in Russia right now. I think they're more than happy to exploit that press. They're more than happy to like put it on their website and say, look, we're being exploited. Look, we're being oppressed. And they're more than happy to talk about it at the meetings. But actually spend some of their legal funds on it? I doubt it. Because it actually benefits them more to have that shit keep going. Let's see here. Spiritual Monk says it should be banned in the US. Yeah, I would like to see the cult not exist in the US, but I don't know how that would be put into practice. But I think rounding people up and arresting them and throwing them in jail and throwing them in mental hospitals, yeah, that might not be the best method for extinguishing the cult, or like they're a flame. I guess I meant exterminating is still not the word I'm going for, but dismantling the cult is what I mean. Robo Fury Man. Robo Fury Man says it should be put down, or it should be shut down for the pure reason they brainwash their kids into it, and kids cannot consent to indoctrination. Otherwise, the adults have the right to be part of whatever crap they want. Yeah, no, I'm more than in agreement on that the cult should be shut down. That's what I want. Ultimately, that's what I want, is for the cult not to exist anymore. How that is put into practice, that's a whole other story. I don't particularly have any good suggestions on that. The only thing I have to offer as an activist is information. I want people to be informed. I feel like knowledge is power. The more information that you give people, the more you put this information in their faces, the closer that they get to reaching that point of no return where they're faced with so much, so much information, so much evidence that it's unavoidable. Then they can't go, I don't know, I don't see any evidence of them doing anything bad. I only see apostate lies here and there, or rumors here and there, because remember, information control is part of being a member of this cult. You are not allowed to read shit that they don't give you. You are very strongly discouraged from reading anything outside of what they give you, especially stuff about, anything negative about them. And if you're caught, reading anything like that or watching anything like that, or even known to be questioning anything like that, they start making your life a living hell. So, they do a pretty good job of keeping their members as much in the dark as they can. And very doubtful of anything external. Like, it's really hard sometimes, like giving witnesses information, because they will just by default be like, yeah, that's got to be a lie. You know, that's that's Satan trying to poison our minds and put doubt in our heads. You know, they're very reluctant out of fear of out of lots of fear of various things. They're reluctant to actually consider the information being put in front of them. So it's tricky. It's freaking annoying sometimes, actually. It's really hard to have a conversation with them about this shit. But occasionally you'll run into an elder or something that's like, yeah, I'll talk about this stuff with you. I don't know. Lately, I feel like I run into more and more witnesses, like elders and stuff, that are, and sometimes women too, sometimes sisters, who are willing to try and field these questions that I have about the organization and about the sketchier aspects. Something I'm hearing a lot lately, by the way, that I'm wondering if this is true or not, because I haven't gotten a chance to ask. I haven't gotten the chance to ask, like, people, the rank and file people in a congregation about this recently, but I might do that soon, because I do still have access to a congregation. Does anybody know if witnesses are really telling their congregations that they should be calling the police, and that it's up to the parents to do that if their child is a victim of abuse? Because I've heard that, like, I remember I was hearing that from carts before the pandemic started. But then, I don't know if you all have heard my call with the elder that I just put out, like, I think it was last month or something, or maybe the month before that. Yeah, no, I think it was the month before. It was probably in April. Oh, sorry, my body hurts. Still recovering from surgery. I put out a call, and it said, in it, there was an elder telling me basically that they don't call the police immediately, that they call the branch, and that it really depends on the laws in the area that they're living in. And I mean, I'm in Texas, and the lawyer I'm in Texas, and the elder that I was talking to on the phone was also in Texas, and he was trying to make it sound like, well, whose responsibility is it, whose right is it and stuff to call the police, when the parents come to us with an accusation of child abuse. And I said, well, here in Texas, it doesn't matter whether the parents want you to or not. You are legally obligated, because clergy here in Texas are legally obligated as of 1986. You are legally obligated, I told him, to report it to the police, regardless of what the parents say. Like, once you find out about it, you are obligated. So I don't know. I mean, I've had people in Texas at carts, like I said, just before the pandemic started, tell me, no, they tell us that, that we're supposed to call the police. They've told us, and no, we call the police. We call the police on child abusers and stuff. But I had an elder literally tell me, not just a couple of months ago, that, yeah, no, we don't call the police. We call the branch, and we ask them for legal direction first, because it depends on the laws, and different areas have different laws, and blah, 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 blah. So, I mean, this elder told me that basically they don't call the cops. He did tell me that they, like, back in the day, what they used to do, if the branch did instruct them to call the cops, that the branch would tell them to go to a payphone, like grab another brother, another elder, so it was two of them, go to a payphone, make an anonymous call to the police, and report the abuse anonymously. and then make sure to get the cop's badge number, and that's how that was done. And that's if the branch told them to report it. And they would not tell the congregation, and they still don't tell the congregation. But yeah, I was just wondering if anybody knew, like, if there are actually congregations that instruct their members to call the cops, because I keep hearing, variations of that from different areas. But I know that they aren't doing that here. I mean, from what the elder told me, they don't do that here. They don't tell the parents to call the cops. Even though I've had some people at carts here tell me, no, they call the police. We call the police on child abusers. We report them. I don't know. Anyway, I mean, I really want to know what everybody else thinks about the Russia ban stuff. Because it's a very tricky ass subject. It really, really is. I know it seems like black and white, cut and dry to some people, but it isn't to me. And, I'm not afraid to admit that. It is not black and white to me. I wish it were that easy for me. But we're dealing with human beings here. And we're dealing with people that are under a form of mind control. Not mind control, like, we're not talking like MK Ultra shit. We're talking like brainwashing. We're talking about information control, behavior control, thought control, and all that jazz. There's just such a high level of control. I don't know. I do think that the children are the real victims in all this, no matter what. They always are. The children are the ones having to suffer no matter how this goes down. And yeah, back to what Robo Fury Man said, it should be shut down for the pure reason that they brainwash their kids, and kids can't consent. Yeah, I agree. Kids can't consent. I was one of those. I'm fourth generation. So I had to grow up participating in something that always felt wrong to me, for various reasons at various points in my life. And once I was old enough to where they were like really trying to pressure me to get baptized right before I turned a legal adult, I realized that was not going to work out for me. That wasn't a good idea, getting baptized. And I left. And I consider myself lucky, even though I did still have to grow up in it and suffered various forms of abuse in it, and also lost my mom to the cult and lost my entire family to the cult. Even to this day, if they were to see me out in public, which has happened before, they would ignore me. You know the drill. I've literally seen members of my family out in public. Even as recently as last year, I think I saw my uncle in a parking lot at Walmart. And yeah, he's baptized. It took him until just a few years ago, actually, for him to get baptized. I don't know if he's still practicing Jehovah's Witness, though. Word on the street is that he got disfellowshipped for having a nice car and for partaking of the devil's lettuce. There's nothing wrong with the devil's lettuce, by the way. The devil's lettuce needs to be legalized. Yeah, let's see here. Depends on the U.S. state. Oh, thanks for the response, Daniel. Depends on the U.S. state. First, call the legal department. They are not to discourage parents from calling. The policy ignores that abuse occurs in family 40% of the time. Yeah, exactly. That's another great point. the policy acts like the abuser is going to be some creep in the congregation who's not related to the child. And sure, that happens. But yeah, 40%. Yeah, 40% does sound kind of low. You would think that more often than that, like more than half the time, the parents, not the parents, somebody in the family, like parents, uncle, brother, whatever, somebody would be somebody related to the child would be the one committing the abuse. I mean, that's how it works, and it usually is. It's usually a family member or a friend of the family. It's not some stranger. It's not some weirdo in the congregation. It's not often the already convicted pedophile in the congregation, unless the convicted pedophile is your family member. Because, and the reason is very simple. It's because excess. You know, the strange guy in the congregation who's not related to your kid probably doesn't get a lot of access to your child, especially if you're an even halfway wise parent. Like, you're probably not just letting your kid go spend time with random dudes in the congregation, or random women, because women abuse children too, and people like to forget that. So it's not always a situation like that. It usually is somebody in the family because they have access to the child, or they're trusted with the child because they're family, or it's a really close friend of the family. And in situations like that, you really think that the family, like, that the parents are going to call the police on themselves if it's them? Like, if it's the dad who's doing the abuse or the mom who's doing the abuse, you really think they're going to call the cops on themselves? No. Like, seriously, what if the kid comes to the elder, and this has happened a lot. The kid can go to the elders and be like, thinking that they're going to get help because they've been taught all their lives the elders are there to help them and stuff. They go to the elders, privately, and they say, hey, my parent is abusing me, and they have been for a really long time, and I don't know what to do about it, and I need help. And I'm afraid to just, keep afraid for this to keep happening. Can you help me? And then what? Then the elder tells the freaking parents, and that happens a lot. The elder tells the parents and is like, hey, your kid just told me that you're abusing them. What's going on with that? And then the parent's like, obviously gonna deny it, right? Like, no, I didn't do anything. My kid just likes to make things up because my kid is angry at me, or doesn't like that I took away their Nintendo Switch or whatever, or doesn't like that I won't let them use the internet, and they're just retaliating and telling lies about me. And the elder's like, well, that checks out. Cool. All right. That makes our job easier. We don't have to report anything. No, that's not how it works. I mean, in a lot of states, and Texas is one of them, the second that the elder hears that crap, doesn't matter if it's from the kid by themselves or the kid and the parents or the parents, whatever, they are legally obligated to go to the police about it. I don't even know why they bothered calling the branch. They should know. I mean, I know this law. I actually had to tell the elder on the phone. I was like, no, here in Texas, as of 1986, it's not like it's a new law. As of 1986, you're obligated to call. Obviously, Daniel Archer says, obviously it's a policy to keep a degree of separation between the org and the crime. Yeah, they don't want to be legally responsible. They don't want, not only do they not want to be legally responsible, they just don't want that kind of stuff associated with Jehovah's Witnesses, because, as I'm sure you've heard them say plenty of times, they don't want to bring reproach on Jehovah's name. That's how they used to tell me. Because it makes them look bad. They don't want any bad press. The only kind of bad press that they like is press that they can use to spin in their favor, for oppression points, like this Russia stuff. They love this. They absolutely love this because they're getting sympathy. They're getting oppression points. People feel bad for them. I mean, even I feel a little bit bad, for the ones that are actually not, out there committing crimes and crap, and the ones that aren't hurting their kids. Now, an argument could be made that all Jehovah's Witnesses are hurting their kids simply by virtue of having them in this dangerous organization around people that, that if they did anything to them, they're in an unsafe situation. Something bad could happen to them, and then what? Then they're not protected. Like, nobody's going to help them. And then they lose their support system. And that's true. I agree with that. Technically, yeah. All parents that that are Jehovah's Witnesses are putting their kids in danger just by being there. It's true. The problem is they don't realize that. A lot of them don't realize that. Once they figure that out, though, once somebody tells them, once a protester tells them, once a friend tells them, or a family member who's not a Jehovah's Witness tells them, or once they see a freaking news article about it, and they realize, because they're hearing directly, yeah, actually you are putting your kid in danger just by being in the organization. Once they realize it, once they connect the dots and realize that that is true, then they need to freaking leave. Otherwise, at that point, I believe they become intentionally or willfully ignorant, if you want to call it that. Oops, sorry, cat. I scared my cat. My goodness. It's horrible. It really is. It's absolutely disgusting. And what gets me is, to some degree they have to realize, I know that some of them don't realize it, that their kids are in danger, but I don't understand how they don't, even without somebody else from the outside telling them. How do you not realize it? Because I'll be at a cart, well, back before the pandemic, I would be at a cart telling them, blah, 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 pedophiles, blah, 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 right? And then they'll go, well, every religion has pedophiles, and nobody's perfect, blah, 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 and yeah, we do call the police. And I'm like, so that there are potentially pedophiles in your midst, and you're still willing to put your kids at risk. I mean, I understand, that's all right, for comparison's sake, I understand that's kind of like me saying, well, Walmart, if Walmart had a sign on it on the outside that said, one in every 50 customers might be a pedophile, so, watch out for your kids. Would I still shop at Walmart? I don't think so, actually. I think if they just straight up said that, yeah, so, nobody's perfect, but 1 in 50 customers is probably going to be a pedophile, so, shop at your own risk. Don't bring your kids. I probably wouldn't be bringing my kids to Walmart. I mean, I probably wouldn't even shop there. Now, I know that realistically there's no way to completely avoid pedophiles in the world, as much as I would like to. But that's the thing. Walmart doesn't have a policy that says, yeah, so 1 in 50 pedophiles, or 1 in 50 pedophiles, 1 in 50 customers is a pedophile, but if something happens to your kid while they're in the store, we'll need 2 witnesses to that incident before we're actually going to call the police on them. That's the difference. That's why I'll probably still shop at Walmart, even if they had a sign on there that said, yeah, 1 in 50 customers is probably a pedophile. Because I know that at least if something did happen, because I wasn't watching my kid properly, which that wouldn't happen in the first place. I never take my eye off my kid in the store, or kids. I never take my eye off my kids in my store, or in the store, but like, if something were to happen, God forbid, you know that person's probably gonna go to jail. Like, Walmart's got cameras everywhere. Fuck 2 witnesses. Walmart has like hundreds of witnesses in the form of security cameras. And, even without that, like, just you reporting it without, like, let's say the cameras are all broken that day, just you reporting that would be more than enough for Walmart to be like, all right, let's call the cops. Let's get this asshole in jail. Is Walmart really really better at handling pedophiles, child abusers than Jehovah's Witnesses? Walmart is actually somehow safer than going to a meeting. Did I really just have that realization? Holy crap. That's pretty sad. That's pretty sad when you feel safer going into Walmart than you do going into a meeting at the Kingdom Hall. Ugh. Anyway. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's good that Russia doesn't want any extremist organizations. I think that's good. That's good that they don't want that. The way that they're implementing it, I think, could use some improvement. So I guess I'm not against the ban. I'm just against, well, not against, but I have some issues with the way they're implementing it. I hope that makes sense. I hope people understand what I mean by that. Like, I think it's fine that they want to ban it, that they want to ban the cult. That's fine. Russia's not exactly known for freedom of speech and stuff, and personal freedoms in general. Whatever. But like I said earlier in the stream, like one of my friends would point out to me, you shouldn't have personal freedoms that allow you to harm children. And I agree with that. I agree with that. You shouldn't have personal freedoms that allow you to harm children, that enable you to harm children and to get away with it. And they do. The organization, Jehovah's Witness organization, does enable pedophiles to abuse children and get away with it. So yeah, do I agree with the ban? On a surface level, I agree with the ban. I simply have some issues with the way that things are being implemented. I wish there were a better way for them to get rid of the cult. It's just, honestly, how do you do it? Like, it seems like such a monumental task. And tricky. So tricky. I don't know. If anybody has any idea of how they would, implement that, like, say, here in the US, because I know that would never fly in the US. Well, at least not right now. I mean, look at how people responded to having to wear masks. Look at how people responded to that, just one minor change. Masks suck, but it wasn't even like I don't know. Let's not even get into that. But yeah, masks suck. But like, this is different. This is a cult, right? And I mean, I feel like if people reacted like that to masks, which was like a public health issue, can you imagine how they would react to seeing people rounded up and taken to jail and taken to mental hospitals just because they're Jehovah's Witnesses? Like, I saw people in the comments that were like, well, I don't like it when they knock on my door, but I don't want them to go to jail. I don't think they deserve to go to jail for 6 years for that. Also, 6 years. Holy shit. You know what, Russia? Like, bring some of that over here for the people that are actually abusing the kids. Because that's one thing that always got me when I would do my Kingdom Hall protests. When I would go and stand up in the Kingdom Hall and say stuff, um, it always fucked me up that they would be like, "We're gonna call the police on you." I'd be like, "Yeah, go right ahead. Um, let's bring the cops here. I'll be more than glad to tell them what's going on in y'all's little organization here." I mean, seriously, you're gonna call the police on me, but you're not gonna call the police on the people that abuse the kids in your congregation? I mean, I would love Russia to bring some of that 6 years of jail to those assholes. Actually, way more than six. Um, well, the ban was a knee-jerk reaction to ISIS, if you think back, not to the abuse. There was an article in the Library of Congress about it, but I can't find it. Ah, well, if you do find it, if you wouldn't mind, could you post it in the comments of the video? Or, I mean, I imagine I'm probably going to hop off this stream soon. But yeah, if you find it, like, stick it in the comments or message it to my Facebook page. It's linked in the description of this video. It's called The One Bun. It's the Facebook page for this YouTube channel. Ugh. Anyway, yeah, so yeah, I mean, that's more or less my whole thought process. I know that was like a lot. I'm sorry I blabbed for like, what has it been, like an hour and a half already? I just. Oh, thanks. I wouldn't mind if you sent me what you have from that email, or stick it in the comments, or however you want to get it to me. I'm interested to read it. But yeah, my thoughts. I've been talking for like about an hour and a half now, and I still feel like like I don't really know for sure how to feel about everything. The best I could sum it up was what I said, just a couple minutes ago, was that I I'll always agree with getting rid of Jehovah's Witnesses, the organization. I think they should be banned straight to hell, but I don't know if I completely. I mean, I think that they should be implementing it in a better way. Throwing everybody in jail seems a little extremist in and of itself. I mean, I don't know. It's so freaking. It's a difficult subject. But above all, at the end of the day, I would want whatever would be best for the kids. Which is why it would definitely take more than an hour and a half stream for me to, to do the thought experiment to get to the conclusion of something that I feel like would even be marginally close to a decent method for carrying this out. Let's see here. I'm going to read Daniel's comments here. I think it's probably what was in the email he's talking about. Propaganda of exclusiveness. Oh, wait, sorry. incitement of social, racial, ethnic, or religious hatred, propaganda of exclusiveness, superiority, or inferiority of an individual based on his or her social, racial, ethnic, religious, or linguistic identity, or his or her attitude to religion, preventing citizens from exercising their electoral rights and the right to participate in a referendum, or violating the secrecy of the vote, combined with violence or threats to use violence, violation of rights, liberties, and legitimate interests of an individual because of his or her social, racial, ethnic, religious, or linguistic identity or attitude to religion, mass distribution of materials known to be extremist, their production and possession for the purpose of distribution, organization and preparation of extremist acts and calls to commit them, and financing the above-mentioned acts, or providing any other material support to an extremist organization, including assistance in printing their materials, offering educational or technical facilities, or providing communications or information services. Wow. If those are the standards they go by, then I can see how Jehovah's Witnesses fell into that, fell under those specific. Wow. I can see how Jehovah's Witnesses fit that description. I mean, for instance, preventing citizens from exercising their electoral rights. Witnesses aren't allowed to vote. In fact, a friend of mine, her dad, left because he wanted to vote. Like, he knew he would have probably been disfellowshipped for voting, so he was just like, screw it, I'm disassociating from y'all. Violation of rights, liberties, and legitimate interests of an individual. Yep, that. Also, the threats of violence. I mean, yeah, they threaten you with freaking Armageddon left and right, starting from very early childhood. I mean, even now, like, I will still get the occasional Jehovah's Witness, including members of my family, by the way, who have messaged me through my YouTube Facebook channel, or my YouTube channel's Facebook. I can't speak English today. And they've said shit like, I can't wait to see you die in Armageddon, or you're gonna die and blah 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 blah. Like, they get pretty vicious. They do make death threats. They don't tell me they're gonna kill me, but they basically tell me, yeah, God's gonna take care of your ass. Like, I mean, does it count if they're threatening you with something that they don't plan on doing to you themselves? I mean, I kind of think so. I think it counts because they're trying to be intimidating. They're trying to scare you. Whether or not it's them saying that they're doing it themselves, they seem absolutely delighted that you're going to die, which is just, that's just such a bad look. Like, I don't know why they think that that's a good idea to do to people. There's this Jehovah Facebook page, like, where it pretends to be Jehovah, like if Jehovah had his own Facebook. And there was a post that said, y'all should be nicer to worldly people so you'll have fewer graves to dig after Armageddon. It's kind of dark humor, but yeah, like, they're so vicious. Like, I've literally had people, get kind of thuggy with me, like threatening with me, and be like, you better be glad I'm a Jehovah's Witness, or I'd kick your ass. It's like, bro, you're already like swearing at me and telling me I'm gonna die in Armageddon. Why don't you just at least be 100% honest with me and be like, and just punch me, or just tell me that you fucking hate me and you hope I die, because that's pretty much what you're saying when you tell me, oh, Armageddon's going to get you. You're saying I wish death on you. Like, I'm looking forward to you dying. So yeah, I mean, a lot of this stuff does sound like Jehovah's Witnesses. So if this is, you know, uh, if these are the criteria under which they're being banned, I can see that. And that's what I'm saying. Like, these comments over here on this video, where people are like, extremist? How are they extremist? It's like, bruh, how are they not? Like, there's very little about Jehovah's Witness that isn't extremist. Like, they twist certain scriptures to an extremist degree, like the blood one. You're not supposed to eat blood. How did that turn into you can't have a blood transfusion to save your life? Like, there's another scripture that, if you read that one, I would think takes precedence over the eating blood crap and gives you more insight as to how things would probably be okay, like blood transfusion would probably be okay, like the scriptures that talk about how life is sacred, and life is valued over the law, like, as in, you screw, I think it was the Sabbath law or whatever, like the don't work on the Sabbath thing, like, and talking about like saving an animal's life, instead of just letting it die, because you're technically saving the animal's life would have counted as work, because you're not supposed to lift over a certain amount of weight or something. And they're like, no, you just save the freaking animal from drowning in the well. Life is more important than, following a stupid law. Like, could you imagine? I mean, people have tried to get away with that throughout history. Like, I was just following orders. The Nazis, like, I was just following orders. Yeah, that didn't hold up so well in court. As well as it should not have. Oh my gosh, people are linking JW.org articles. Ugh, I wonder if they're counting that as time. Gross. And the invisible and hiding Jehovah is watching all this. What is he thinking? He doesn't care. Or maybe he doesn't exist. He is a she. Her name is Hova, and she has deceived millions. She is the harlot that rides the great beast, an absolute abomination of love. Okay. See, now here, this person says you're entitled to your own belief, so are they. Neither of you should be tortured nor jailed for what you believe. Okay, so about that, because like people say that a lot, that you shouldn't be tortured or jailed for what you believe in, right? Okay, belief is one thing, but practicing your religion is another. Okay, like, you can believe, that that it's wrong to take a blood transfusion, but then killing your child, that's a whole other thing. Like, not letting your child have the blood and then letting them die, that's a whole other fucking thing. You can believe that there should be 2 witnesses before you report child abuse to the police, but turning a blind eye when you know damn well your kid was abused and has no reason to lie to you about it or anything. Not that I don't think kids really lie about that shit, honestly. Like, damn well your kid got abused, your kid came to you and told you, your kid went to the elders, whatever. Turning a blind eye to that just because there weren't 2 creeps, watching this happen. Yeah, like I said, belief versus practice. I mean, if your religion says it's okay to fucking kill people, Yeah, I think you should be put in jail for that. Tortured, I don't know, it depends on what happened to the. I'm not really a big person on torture. I feel like let's just put your ass in jail, you know, and make sure you can't torture anybody anymore. But yeah, if your religion says it's okay to torture small animals and shit, yeah, no. Go to jail. Go directly to jail. Um, if you believe, that you're God and you have the right to kill people, you think your ass shouldn't go to jail for killing people? Like, give me a break. Give me a break. So yeah, I don't know. I don't like that broad sweeping generalization of you shouldn't be jailed for what you believe. Um, maybe you shouldn't be jailed for what you believe, but for acting on that belief, for practicing that belief, in a way that's ultimately going to be harmful or cause death to somebody. Yeah, yeah, go to jail. Go directly to jail. Anyway, sorry for getting a little riled up. I really hate how people act like you should be totally free to like have whatever crazy ass belief you want and then act on it, and that we're all supposed to just be cool with that. No, I don't think so. Like, belief is one thing, but then acting on it, that's a whole other crock of shit. Oh, hey JWS. It's been a minute. Yes, I'm in the Vice program. That's my it's actually my mom in the trailer. At 10 and 11 seconds, they show pictures of her. And a Kingdom Hall crash that I did the day of filming for the documentary is also in the trailer at around 47 seconds. And it's a yet unreleased crash. That's another thing. I don't like calling them crashes anymore. I like to call them. I like to call them unscheduled presentations because I'm not crashing anything. I either have an implied or explicit invitation anywhere that I've done this, and crash makes it sound like it's something bad, like I'm being aggressive or something, and I'm usually not. The trailer is linked in the description of this stream and all of my previous streams as well. But yeah, it's right down there in the description. You can check it out if you like. But yeah, also come back here on the day of the documentary is released on the 28th, because right after the documentary airs, it will be released. The crash, I don't like calling them crashes anymore. The unscheduled presentation I did at that Kingdom Hall is going to be shown on here. I'm finally going to release it. I've had it just sitting on me for it's almost been 3 years now. And it's not because I legally can't release it, it's because the producers asked me if I would kindly wait until the documentary aired until and then finally go ahead and put it on my channel if I wanted afterward, because they didn't want it to spoil any part of the documentary. So it will probably be in there if they're making me hold out on you. Otherwise, I'll be all sad, because then I could have just shown it to you all along. But yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be the first unscheduled presentation that anybody's seen in a while because of the pandemic. I hope nobody gets confused. I think I've made it pretty clear in the past several streams that this is almost 3 years old, but hopefully nobody gets confused and thinks that this is a new unscheduled presentation, and thinks that the Kingdom Halls are open again over here. I hear that some are opening in this state again, and in other places in the country, but I haven't actually personally seen any that are open yet. It kind of seems like people really want them to stay closed and keep doing the Zoom meetings. But yeah, it's really good to see you again, JWS. It's been a minute. And thanks for stopping by. Let's see here. If you want to hear like more about the documentary and what happened in it and stuff, you'll want to check out the stream that I did called "I'm in a Documentary." That I give a lot of detail in there. Let's see here. Oh, and if you need help, JWS, being able to watch the documentary, feel free to hit me up. Either on Facebook or wherever you can hit me up. But my YouTube's Facebook channel is in the description, and I can hook you up because I know that outside of the U.S. it's probably going to be tricky for some people to be able to see. Let's see here. Daniel Archer says, "I am not a religious man, but Luke 14:5 voids the stupid blood position, so obviously it's just dumb for them to ignore it. Jesus said it for God's sake." Yeah, exactly. They just like I said, they only have that position so that they can differentiate themselves from other sects of Christianity. They want to be special, basically. They want to be different. Then he asked them, "If one of you has a child or an ox that falls into a well on the Sabbath day, will you not immediately pull it out?" And then they had nothing to say. See, that's what I was talking about. Yeah, exactly. I attended a Zoom, but went for the soft speaking interaction with them. Oh, yeah, I attended 2 Zoom memorials this year. I'm still in the process of releasing all of the footage from that because I do have footage from that. I got all of the memorials that I did, all of both of them, and I also put out a really long call with an elder. I think I saw you comment on that in the VAA. And you said you were going to bookmark it for later. You really should check it out. That elder said some stuff. Some not shocking stuff. Not shocking to us because we know that this is how it works, but like it would be shocking to to the general public, I think, about the way that they handle child abuse and stuff. And you should check out. There's that, but there's also like I spoke to him. That was just me trying to get the invitation to the memorial here, the local one, and that's literally the only reason we were on the phone, was just because I was trying to get the Zoom link. But we ended up on the phone for an hour and a half, and he was telling me all kinds of bad stuff. Couldn't believe how much he opened up to me. I ended up having a few studies with him, and I went to meetings in that congregation, so I have footage from all of that. And that dude did not let me have any study that was under an hour. Like our first study we had the day after the memorial was 3 freaking hours. 3. Like I wanted to die after that. I was so tired. And yeah, he's just, oh god. I called him out on a bunch of stuff that was not factually accurate, and he was like, "Good catch." Like, I hope I made him think, but I highly doubt it. He seemed like one of those elders who is really into being, into being educated about the Bible, even though I don't think he really was all that educated, based off of the fact that he was saying so many incorrect things. Yes, 3 hours. That's funny. Jesus is lesser than the governing body. Gosh. Yeah, that's how they feel. My local JWs are elderly, worn down, and broken. We have a good mixture over here. we have a lot of elderly ones, and then we have like a bunch of like really young ones. Like that's the thing. We have, for some reason, a lot of people that are in their teens and early 20s too, and I'm like, why? We have the internet. You children should be like totally inoculated against this stuff. But again, I keep mentioning this. I've mentioned this earlier in this stream actually, that information control is a big part of why witnesses don't know really obvious things, about the cult that they're in, or that they're at least in really major denial. I mean, once they do, this is why it's important that activists like put this stuff in their face as much as possible, and not in like a rude or forceful way, but just like they make them face these things. It's important because the more and more that they're faced with this information, the more they'll realize, the more opportunities they'll have to realize that this is not like just, Satan's media or apostate lies. These are facts. They are true stories. They are true cases. They are irrefutable, and you reach a point once you've been faced with so much of that evidence that you can't deny it anymore. Your brain won't let you. It simply will not. After a point, you'll be like, well, shit. In the 80s, the song here, oh, sorry, you meant Kong. Yeah. In the 80s, the congregation here was full, vibrant, lots of families. Now it's died. Well, yeah, the 80s were kind of their heyday. The 80s, they were like booming with members. Booming, absolutely booming, which is weird because that was, not too long after the whole 1975 debacle. I wonder what like, caused the resurgence of members. Because, you would think that after 1975, a ton of people would leave and be like completely disheartened and disillusioned, especially after being gaslit and told, we never said that the end was coming at 1975. Y'all said that. That was a rumor y'all started. We never said that, even though plenty of people recall it being said from the platform. If I'm understanding correctly and remembering correctly, there was even literature that heavily implied that it was going to happen in 1975. So yeah, I don't know why, but for some reason, the 80s, they were booming. They got plenty of members. Business was good for Jehovah. Not so much now. They're having a hard time right now. Not just because of the child abuse cases, but money. Like financially, they're kind of drowning a little bit. Not just because of the child abuse cases, but also because of the the mass exodus of members. When the ABC News piece that I'm doing this stream about, when at the beginning of it, when it said that they have 8 million members, I was like, yeah, probably not anymore. They don't. That sounds like a lie. No one told me about 1975. Watchtower did print about 75 in advance. I only found it later. See, that's what I'm saying. I knew they put something out about 75. And from what I understand from people who were, around when this was happening, that they were saying it from the platform. Aside from it being in literature, they were actually promoting this from the platform. It wasn't just like congregation rumors. But they gaslit the members afterward. They're how they do with their damn new light crap. And they're like, oh, destroy your old literature and stuff. Yeah. No, we never said that it was happening. That was y'all. They try to put that on the members. These aren't the droids you're looking for. Um, but yeah, they're having a rough time now. They're right now they're really dependent. It seems like they're dependent on members that already are in, like staying in, getting their family to come back, and having more kids. I remember when I was still in, they were saying that it was best not to have kids, and I mean, just like they did in 1975. Back when I was in, they were saying not to have kids and to become a pioneer and all this other shit. And they're like, it's, having kids is bad because why would you want to raise kids in today's world? It's horrible right now. Wait until paradise. And so I knew a lot of pioneer couples that were married and did not have children on purpose, just like in 1975. But now it seems like a lot of witnesses are having kids, my brother included. Um, he's a young parent himself, and I imagine that he's not the only one. Like, it sure seems like it from like all the social media with Jehovah's Witnesses. Also, when did that become okay? Because when I was still in, when I was like 17, actually even when I went back at 26 because I wanted to be around my family, um, I distinctly remember them talking shit about social media and saying that you shouldn't be on Facebook and you shouldn't be on other stuff like that, and that it's bad, and that a good Jehovah's Witness wouldn't do that. Now they're all over the damn internet, like doing hashtags, doing challenges. They're on TikTok. They're everywhere, and it's weird. I'm like, stop it. We don't want you on social media. It's already cringy enough without you weirdos on here. Um, and then of course the JW.org. I was shocked when they had that. I was like, wow. I never thought I'd see the day where Jehovah's Witnesses would have a fucking website. Excuse my language, but I was genuinely shocked. And then when the JW broadcasting thing started, I was like practically on the floor about that one. I was like, what? What is this? Like, I remember seeing the very first one and being like, this is unreal. Holy crap. They are not over here trying to they are not over here trying to have their own little TV show. Are they really over here? Oh my god. Like, not them trying to do the 700 Club, but for JWs. Oh god. Let's see here. Let's see here. Whoa. In the 80s. Oh no, you already said that. I said that. Watchtower did print about it. Yeah. Okay, good. I read that stuff. Yeah. So yeah, that was just. I'm sorry. My brain is still like exploding. I remember when I was watching them talk about how they built the studio for JW Broadcasting and how Jehovah's hand was in it, and I was like, I wouldn't want Jehovah's hand in anything. I know where his hand has been. But yeah, like that's just. But yeah, when did it become okay for Jehovah's Witnesses to be on social media? Because I notice like nobody gets disfellowship for that, and I know plenty of my family members who are Jehovah's Witnesses are on social media. I occasionally peek in on them. I know it's kind of weird to do that, but like I don't do it to anybody else. I just do it because I miss my family and I want to make sure they're okay. And I figure it's the only way I'm gonna find out how any of them are doing, or like if they're still alive in some cases. My freaking grandma, the one that's in the documentary, the one that raised me, my grandma, who used to tell me that I shouldn't have Facebook because Facebook is evil, my grandma has a Facebook. And you know what I saw? I saw her put a memorial, uh, like a little table that she had with her emblems and everything. she had a little table of emblems set up. This was in 2020, and she was doing it in my old bedroom, my old childhood bedroom at her house. I recognized it. She had like a little table with her nice tablecloths, because everybody from her generations has a nice set of her generation has a nice set of tablecloths and napkins and stuff like that that they use for when they're having company over, like a special dinner or whatever. She used her nice tablecloth and her nice napkins and stuff, and she used her nice flatware and her nice everything that she had, and put that out. Put a little vase with a little flower that I'm sure she picked from her own garden, and she had her wine and her little bread and everything. And the witnesses at the local memorial that I attended over Zoom, not the second one that I attended, which was in Oregon over Zoom. The witnesses at the local one, I was asking them about the bread, because I was like, "Oh, that's a nice little setup you've got there," because they were, they got it in the background on their Zoom window, right? And "Oh, thank you." And I was like, "So, do you guys like buy that bread at the store, or you like make it, or?" And they were like, "Oh, we make it." So really, they straight up have to make their own bread. I didn't know that they were making the witnesses do that at their own houses. Um, I did ask the elder that I had been talking with, that one that I ended up speaking with for an hour and a half, when I really meant to only have like a 5-minute conversation with him. I asked him if I was supposed to like get bread and wine or something, and he was like, "No, you don't have to do that. It's all good." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." Because if he had had me get the bread and the wine, I wasn't planning on being on camera, because he told me I didn't have to. Um, I told him I was gonna, but I was planning on not. I was planning on making up an excuse so I didn't have to be on camera for a tactical reason. Um, but if he had told me to get bread and wine, I would have gotten on camera and I would have been, eating and shit, drinking. I mean, I wouldn't have gotten real wine. I would have gotten grape juice, because I don't drink any alcohol. I haven't actually drank any alcohol, not a single drop, for, what is it, like a year and a month now? Yeah, little over little over 13 months at this point. For health reasons mostly, but also just because alcohol sucks. For me, it sucks. I don't judge anybody else that drinks. But yeah, like I would have gotten myself some grape juice, and I would have been like, "Oh," just to make them all feel weird. Um, I didn't do anything like, any unscheduled presentation at the memorial. I was there to attend and act like an interested person and all that stuff. So that afterward, after the memorial, I could hang around and chat with them, because he told me that they like to hang around and chat, not just afterward, but before. And he even explained that like it gets so loud and rowdy and stuff in there, because it's a chat room with everybody's video cameras and stuff on, that they have to separate them off into little breakout rooms. That's what they're called, where it's just like little chunks of people, like maybe, I don't know, 8 or so people at a time, sometimes a few more, instead of like all 100 of them at once, because that would be too much. And they'll all just chat with each other. So that's what I did. I hung around after the memorial and mingled with people, and I got the chance to ask them some things. There's one chunk of that first memorial that's already uploaded. It's the only chunk I have uploaded so far, and in it, I'm asking them about, "Oh, so like you guys don't get mad or anything then, if because they were telling me like, people." Okay, well, let me back it up. I was asking them about, so how come y'all don't drink the wine and stuff? And then we were discussing the talk and everything. I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. So it's just those people, those certain people that are anointed that are allowed to drink the wine or whatever, and they're like, yeah. And I was like, so you guys don't get mad if somebody does drink the wine? And they were like, no, no, and then they kind of explained that not everybody who drinks the wine is actually supposed to. That sometimes it's mentally ill people that drink it, or thinking that they're anointed. So basically, they're saying like it's more than likely the person's crazy if they're drinking the wine. Um, and and yeah, so I was like, oh, so you guys don't get angry and kick them out or anything if they drink the wine. And they were like, no, no, of course not. And then I put in some clips of me from past memorials drinking the wine at that first one, and then the blue hair at the second one, and they're kicking me out. But yeah, I mean, I have so much footage from the memorial. Like, the memorial itself was just about an hour over Zoom, but like the aftermath was like a whole other hour and a half or so at both memorials. So it was long, and it takes a long time to go through the footage, and like for privacy reasons, edit out people's faces. I blur everybody's faces out, and then I cut it out anytime somebody says a name. Because this is my local area for that first memorial. It's my local area, and theoretically somebody could recognize themselves from this area and not be very pleased about that. Um, Also, with regard to that one elder who was telling me some of the frankly criminal things that he's involved in, um, there was contact with the police that was made regarding what he told me. So, you know, um, it's not like I'm letting people get away with anything if there is something that needs to be addressed. So don't worry about that. I have definitely taken action when it was appropriate to do so, with regard to like crime. I'm not a Jehovah's Witness. I actually will contact the police if I think that a crime has been committed. Let me see here. But yeah, I didn't feel the need to like put his face or his personal info on YouTube. One, because that might compromise any legal investigation for all I know, and two, because that doesn't really help anything. It doesn't help the situation, and I don't want to be accused of like sending people after him to harass him. Because some of the stuff he was saying, like I said, very dangerous stuff. Let's see here. I mean, I could imagine with what the guy was telling me that like some people would hear that, and if they knew who he was and how to contact him or whereabouts that he lived, I could see some people getting pissed off enough to go to his house and do something about it, which is, I don't particularly have sympathy if that were to happen, but I don't want to contribute to something like that happening. I would like for anybody that commits a crime to have to face legal consequences in an appropriate way. Let me see here. I wanted to keep things open as well for talking. I felt so sorry for them as well, and it seemed the longer term was better to speak. Yeah, that was my approach this year. In the past, I've gone and given the so-called unscheduled presentations, and people did listen, and I did have people contact me after them, telling me that that they were there at the memorial when I spoke, and they recognized me and they came looking for the video and all that. And I definitely had local witnesses come looking for the video just so they could yell at me. They would had somebody say something about that I should be beheaded or something. That was lovely. But I do think that this year's approach was good in a different way. I tried to get them to think about things by asking them questions as though I was an outsider and had no idea what was, how things worked. I tried to get them to think about their, the reasons they do stuff they do. And it wasn't in a way like, where I sounded accusatory. It was like coming from a place of genuine curiosity, like, oh, so yeah, why do you guys call your kingdom halls anyway? Or so why do you guys not drink the wine or eat the bread? Just stuff like that. And you know how much witnesses love when you're intellectually curious about the stuff that that they teach. They love answering questions. They literally say that to me too. Oh, I love questions. I'll be happy to answer your questions. And they're like, under normal circumstances, they love questions, but also like right now, with the pandemic going on and everything, they are so thirsty for questions. They are thirsty for interested people. They are so bored. They're like dying for somebody to ask them a question. So this is like the perfect time to talk to a witness if you're interested in doing some activism. This is the time. Keeping privacy is respectful. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, not everybody, as I was saying way earlier in this stream, not everybody in the cult is, there, with the intention of doing anything bad or trying to commit a crime. So, I mean, like, and I'm not here to send people after other people. The only time I'm going to send people after somebody is the cops after somebody that I believe has committed a crime. But I don't want to send like strangers off the internet after somebody, because then I'm not any better than the criminals that I'm sending them after. Let's see here. Damn it. I'm not sure what the damn it was about, but damn it right with you. I could tell the elder I was speaking with was very, very aware of the child abuse problems. Yeah, me too. You should, like I said, you should go check out that call that I had with the elder. I think it's called Elder Confessions or something. Secret Elder Confessions, something like that. He knew. He was explaining stuff to me. He even said that there was one in his congregation and that he went out in service with him before. He told a bunch of different stories about, child abuse stuff. And I was just like, he even said he didn't believe a kid that said he was child abused, or that he was abused by somebody in the congregation. He said he didn't believe him. So, he knew some things. Yeah. I didn't hear anything personal about what had happened, but the elder knew and warned me to make sure I visited the official JW site. Oh yeah, he had me pull up the website too, and he even directed me to the legal resources thing on that. He was like, yeah, if you just type in child abuse, the first thing that should come up is the legal resources for blah 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 blah, and like you see me pulling it up on the screen. And I'm like, yeah, so this tells you how the legal proceedings go. And he's like, well, we're a religious organization, not a legal organization. I'm like, oh, yeah. If there's families with children, then they need to know now to protect themselves, of course. I was brought up a Catholic, so I bring that up because it naturally leads to those child abuse cover-ups. Yeah, that's another thing he was trying to show me. He was showing me like Caleb and Sophia videos and stuff, and he was like, yeah, we have resources to teach kids how to protect how to protect themselves, and we have resources to teach parents on how to protect their children, blah, 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 blah. Just all kinds of stuff. Interestingly enough, but not surprising whatsoever, he also tried to blame women and, well, not women, but young girls for inviting abuse onto themselves with the way that they behave and dress. He said that they're overly sexualized these days, and that's why elders that's why elders aren't allowed to meet with them alone. And he even said because they wanted to avoid any temptation or avoid getting into any situations like that. He even mentioned by accident, and I was like, accidentally? I was like, how does one accidentally find themselves in that situation? And he was like, well, and then like he went on to tell me a story. You really should listen to the call. It's one thing for me to tell you what's going on and to tell you what he said, but to hear it out of his mouth is just frustrating, disgusting, surreal. I mean, like, we know that this stuff is we know how they are, we know how they operate. We know that this is how it is, but still to hear it is just it's no less jarring. Even though we already know how it is. It's kind of like how you know that people suffer quite a lot when they are dying of cancer, especially in the final stages. But then to see it yourself, even though you know what happens, and even if you've read on it extensively, to see it yourself, it's quite jarring. It's the same thing with hearing this elder talking about the way that they handle child abuse, and the attitude that he clearly has about the victims is just awful and telling. And it just makes me feel more than ever that I can't stop doing activism. I have to warn people because how could anybody want their children to be in a congregation with somebody who has that sort of attitude about potentially their own children who could be victims? Like, why would you want your kid to be in a congregation with a dude who thinks of your child as, some little over-sexualized, predatory, impudent, like, lying, conniving person? Because that's how he was portraying the victims. Like, that they make stuff up, that they bring it on themselves. He even said that in one case, one of the victims was promoting the sexual relationship that she had with the older man. That she promoted it. That's what he said. She promoted it. And I was like, first of all, like, I wanted to jump down that guy's freaking throat and, oh my god. Yeah, I was like, I had to hold back because I needed to let him say what he was going to say, and I still needed to go to the freaking memorial, so I had to just like, all right, just listen, don't scream at him, because first of all, the minor child in any situation where there's that kind of stuff going on between a minor child and an adult, the child is never responsible. The child is not the perpetrator. Ever. That's not how it works. Children cannot consent, therefore the child was not the one promoting it. It is the responsibility of the adult in the situation to say, hey, that's inappropriate behavior, we're not going to do that. Please stop. Or, literally just walk away, just, oh my god. My mother even watched me being abused at 11, but every one of my abusers she sided with that I had led them on and used them. Yep, that I believe that 100%, and I'm very sorry that happened to you, by the way. That is absolutely disgusting, and your mother should be ashamed. But my grandmother was the same way with my mom. My grandmother listened to the advice of the elders who told her to sign off for my mother to get married. My mother was 14, and they told her, sign for your 14-year-old daughter to get married to her 20-something-year-old boyfriend so that they don't commit fornication. You know, I just think about that and I'm like, what the hell? Like, if somebody were going anywhere near my 14-year-old child, trying to date them when they're in their 20s, that wouldn't even be happening in the first place. I'd be like, you need to stay the hell away from my kid. You're a grown-ass adult, and that is a child. You have no business looking at them like that, much less dating them. And then marrying them? Hell no. I don't think so. That's just... Where's my baseball bat? I have a 15-year-old child right now, and, you know, even though he's male, it doesn't make any difference. If a 20-something-year-old woman were trying to even look at my 15-year-old son in a weird way, or 20-year-old man, or whatever, doesn't matter, I would be furious. I would... Oh my god. I would, like, probably threaten the man. Not even gonna lie. Like, I would probably threaten him. In the UK, the age of consent is 16, and there's so much you still don't know. Yeah, in Texas, the age of consent in civil court for things like sex is 17. At least last time I checked, it was. I really hope they've changed that, actually. I know it was when I was 17. Sick. Marry off your daughter to a pedophile? Not ever, ever. Yeah, exactly. Not ever would I marry either of my children off to a pedophile. And that's, you know, that's something that I've had to come to terms with recently. It's still really hard to say that out loud, that's my dad is... My dad is a child abuser. I mean, he may not think of himself that way, but he was in his 20s and he married a 14-year-old girl. My mother was a child bride. And I don't understand, like, how he could not see that about himself. He really may not think this about himself, but he married a teenage child. Whether or not you're under the influence of a cult, that doesn't change... I'm sorry, that doesn't change, like... You should be able to see that that's a child. Cult or no cult. And it still freaks me out, like, to this day. But like, more recently, I've had to come to terms with it, like, that's what my dad is, if he knowingly married a child. And my mom... Oh no, that was my dad. Yeah, when she was 15, she gave birth to me. So they got married at 14, and then when she was 15, she had me. I have so many stories that I was told about how my mom just wanted to go home, didn't want to be an adult or a wife or anything, wanted to go home and be with her stuffed animals again and just be a child again, because she was a child. And just hearing the stuff about the stuffed animals and everything, that really hit me, that, yeah, that is a child. That's the mentality a child would have. That shows my mother was still very developmentally, emotionally, mentally a child. It's really sad. I do tell my mother's story in the documentary, and I don't think I recall talking about that to any lengthy extent. I know I did. I think I mentioned that she was married at a young age. I think I mentioned that she was married at 14 to my 20-something-year-old dad. And, but I don't think I went into great detail about that. My mother had a really tragic story as a Jehovah's Witness because she was affected in literally every way that Jehovah's Witnesses have to offer. She was affected by the child sex abuse, not just with the person that she married. I'm talking about she was sexually abused by step parents. Yeah, so she was abused. She was sexually abused as a child, sexually abused as an older child, and had to marry her, abuser, and then, after being a child bride, had to have a kid at a young age, had her childhood ripped away from her in every imaginable way, and then she was shunned for a good portion of her life by my family until she, relented and went back to the cult a little later in her adulthood. And then she stopped practicing, and she had to deal with chronic alcoholism that was a result of all of this abuse and all of this crap that she went through. And then finally her life was ended because of the blood doctrine, when she, at that time, hadn't been a practicing witness in, years. And her memory is still disgraced at this point. Every time my brother posts about her on social media, like when it's, when her death anniversary rolls around, it was earlier this month, on July 8th. But yeah, when her death anniversary rolls around, and I've made a video on this before, he will post about her, using her story to promote, to promote the witnesses, to kind of make her into an ad for the cult, to preach about paradise and stuff, saying that she made the sacrifice of her life, and chose not to take blood, and that because of that she'll be in Jehovah's memory. And that, first of all, that's bullshit. She did not choose that. My grandmother chose that. He wouldn't know. He was 8 at the time. He does not have the correct memory of what happened. She did not choose that. That's something that my family, my aunt probably, and my grandma drilled into him as he was growing up, because he did go to live with my Aunt Diane, who was a witness, and that's how he ended up becoming a witness. And is still one today, actually, as is his wife and his poor child, who I will never get to meet, which he held over my head. But yeah, he lied. He likes to lie. I don't know if he realizes he's lying or not, but yeah, my mom did not choose that. And also, fuck Jehovah. If I'm not even gonna mince words on that, if that's really what he expects of people, is to suffer and die for him, needlessly, including children, including the kind of suffering that my mother went through her whole life, then fuck Jehovah. Let's see here. I'm sorry. Oh yeah, there you go. You said, I'm sorry. When I said that, I wasn't thinking it was your dad. No, it's okay. It is what it is. It's the truth. To say otherwise would be a denial of fact. What else do you call somebody who marries a 14-year-old when they're in their 20s? My mom was really skinny and looked younger than her age even back then. So she was. That's even creepier, honestly. Not that it would really be less creepy. I don't even know why I said it's even creepier, because it really wouldn't be any less creepy if she looked older but was still 14. It's creepy no matter what. But it just freaks me out thinking about it. She was. Her body was too young to give birth. Her experience, mind, and heart were too young. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. She was very mature for her age, but there's no excuse for that kind of stuff to have happened to her. A good parent would have protected her from that and realized that that was not something appropriate for her to be doing at that age. Especially after her begging to go home, begging to go back home and live with my grandmother, which she did. She begged, but my grandmother actually took her back to my dad and said, "No, you're married. This is your life." Which she actually did that to me too. And I wasn't married or anything. I came to my grandmother's house. I drove to her house one night because I was having a fight with a guy that I had moved in with. And she told me that I couldn't spend the night at her house because I chose to go and live with that guy, and that's my life, and I have to go deal with that. Yeah, I was like, oh, thanks, cool. I ended up sleeping parked, I think, in front of the house in my car because I just didn't want to go back home. So yeah, I can relate to my mom, except hers was way worse. I was already like, I think 22 or something at the time. No, 23 or 24. My mom was only 14 and 15. She was 15 when she had me, so she probably was like 15 when she was trying to go back home. But yeah, she was way too young for that to be happening to her. I do remember, and I still have it saved on the internet someplace. I'll have to show that sometime. She wrote an article about me. She called me the sugar of her life. And she was talking about how she was glad that she kept me, and was advocating for people not to get abortions and stuff, and that there should be more resources for teen parents and all that. Yeah, my mom went through a lot that she should not have had to go through. I remember you sharing about her dying due to the blood doctrine. Such a beautiful looking woman. Understandable she drank to self-medicate. Yeah, drank, took pain pills, all kinds of stuff. She didn't like weed, though. I kind of wish she had. I wish she had smoked cannabis instead of doing the other stuff, because at least she may have still been here with us today. If something is happening and it's not love, then it's not spiritual. Yeah, absolutely. You were a light to her. I hope I was. She went through so much darkness in her life that I definitely couldn't have been enough light for her, but I hope I was at least a bright spot. And that's something else I wonder. I wonder if she would have been upset with me for doing this documentary. Sometimes I do wonder that, but no, I think she would have understood that, like, even if she were still mentally in but physically out, which she kind of sort of was, not fully mentally in, because she told me it was okay that I had doubts. She told me it was okay if I didn't really believe. That doesn't sound like somebody who's fully mentally indoctrinated still. Which is why I think she would have understood that this was something that I did out of love and concern. Telling her story and everything, and doing the activism I do, I think she would have been understanding of that. My dad, on the other hand, when I told him about the activism I do years ago, he told me that he didn't agree with what I was doing, and that I should just leave the witnesses alone and, live my life, and that they have every right to do whatever they want to do and all that stuff. And I just can't, I can't agree with him on that, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night if I just did nothing. If I didn't at least say something, if not also do things. I just couldn't. Because I know firsthand and secondhand, from my mother's story, I know what kinds of stuff goes on in the organization. That's why it's so conflicting when stuff like the Russia ban comes up. You know, I 100% understand why people are like, yeah, screw them, pick them all up, put them in jail, whatever. They deserve it. I understand that. I just, I'm for banning the witnesses straight to hell. I just don't. I don't know. I have questions about the methods. I take a little bit of issue with the way it's being implemented. I wish there were a better way than just broadly, arresting everybody and stuff. It's tricky. It's like I kind of agree with both sides to a degree. If your dad had left young girls alone and lived his life, everything would have been different. Sorry, but yeah. Yeah, I mean, my dad is 100% responsible. He is culpable in this. He had no business talking to, much less dating or marrying, a 14-year-old girl when he was a grown adult. As much as I hate the organization, remember this is Russia. They don't believe in human rights. Right, and that's an aspect that you know that I agree with. That when I agree with your opinion about that. I know that they don't have a great history of human rights over there. I know that I don't even really believe, like, as much as what Daniel brought up earlier. He commented all that list of stuff, the criteria that they use to decide who gets banned. You know, I don't really think that's what their agenda really is. I don't think they're really looking out for people. I think must have something to do with something political, something. There's some element of control there. I don't think it's really about like public safety or anything. It's got to be about something political. I mean, knowing it's Russia. Even though the witnesses do fit the criteria that they laid out. Very much so. Some people escape from a dark dungeon, but once they have found the route out, go back to show others how to follow. Yeah, actually, that's what I was telling this lady that I took a Lyft ride with to a doctor's appointment. Because we were having a long discussion about witnesses. My appointment was like 30 minutes away. It was either a lady or a dude, because I've been talking to a lot of people lately. But either way, similar conversations. And I said that it was like getting out of a burning building, right? Getting out of a burning building and just not looking back, not knowing and totally knowing that there are people alive in there, children alive, and just being like, whatever, I'm out. That's good enough for me. I just can't do it, and I can't do that. That's, I have to go back to the burning building, and I have to get out whoever I can get out, Interestingly enough, I do remember something the lady told me. She said, it sounds like being born into the Jehovah's Witness cult is like being born in jail. And I said, yeah. Or not jail, she said prison. It's like being born in prison. And I said, yeah, it really is like being born in prison. 100%. Because you kind of are. You're already born in something very isolating, very restrictive, and very controlled. And it's an awful experience. I always wonder, like, what percentage of people that were raised as Jehovah's Witnesses actually have purely positive life experiences. like that they only had a good experience as a Jehovah's Witness, but still left anyway. Like, why do you even leave if it was positive? Because I've heard that. Like, I've heard people say, well, it makes me sad to hear all these stories from Ex-JWs. I never really had anything like that. My childhood was good. My parents were nice. They weren't like super strict or anything. Everybody in the congregation was nice. Like, I mean, that sounds like a really rare experience. I always say that, like, or I used to say all the time that I didn't think my experiences were important enough to talk about because they're so common. And then I realized that actually it's because they're so common that it's important to talk about them. Because they happen so much to so many people. The truly rare experiences aren't the instances of child abuse, like the witnesses would like you to think. The truly rare experiences are the people that manage to grow up in the organization and go through life in the organization completely unharmed and with nothing but positive experiences and positive memories and stuff. That's the real rare experience. Not being abused or having something else horrible happen to you. But yeah, my mom had everything bad happen to her that could have happened to her as a Jehovah's Witness. Everything. She was baptized at 12, by the way, which is, as you know, one of the things that makes you eligible to get married is being baptized. So that's really messed up. That's just yet another reason I really hate that they baptize children, is because, like I was explaining to some of the people that I rode with, when you are baptized in the cult, you are considered to be, at least from a spiritual standpoint, an adult. That means you can do a lot of things that you couldn't before. You can get married, you can get appointed, you can get disfellowshipped. Lots of major life-changing crap can happen to you once you're baptized. You can literally lose your entire family and support system if you've been baptized. Which is why I didn't do it. It's why I've never been dunked. And I don't regret it. And I've actually had people tell me I don't really count as an ex-Jehovah's Witness because I was never baptized. But I was raised in it. I'm fourth generation. Like, the way that they treat me, the way that my family treats me, and have told me in the past, is they consider me to pretty much be like on the same level as having been baptized, because they said I already know the truth. I just haven't gotten baptized. Like, I haven't done the dunking. But I'm pretty much a Jehovah's Witness anyway. So I should know better. Which is why they shun me. Even before I did activism, they still weren't really talking to me. And if I did speak to them, it would only be so that they could try to preach to me. When my grandmother would see me in person, it was to, like, offer to take me to the grocery store and help me get, do my shopping and whatever. Or take me to a doctor's appointment if I needed it, unless it was a psych appointment, because she didn't believe in psychiatrists. But then, somewhere during that, she would try to preach to me. Because that's what they're supposed to do. Try to get you back. Some people... Oh, wait, sorry. I already said that. Thanks for letting me interact here. I'm popping off now. Lovely Dave Wicklin alerted me about the Vice documentary. We'll keep in touch. If you're raised in it, you count. Oh yeah, it certainly feels like it counts. So, yeah. Alrighty, well, I will see you around, JWS. I'm probably going to pop off here too, because it is about to be 2 in the morning here. But before I go, I'm gonna grab the Vice documentary trailer here, and I'm gonna play it just one more time because I've been doing it all week. Oops.
It's time to help people customize and save
ad, so don't mind the stupid ad. Alright, oops, there it goes. I'm gonna play it now. Let's see if it'll work. Hold on. Am I on? Just gonna check my face here. Okay, cool. I thought I was on full face, and I was like, no, I need to show the little page. Okay, here we go.
I was baptized into the Jehovah's Witness religion when I was 15 years old, and I never questioned it.
I liked not being one of the masses who weren't enlightened.
I felt that I had won the lottery. I was born into the only true religion.
I just wanted to know truth. I wanted to know what was real. Everything I had been taught was false.
There were adults in the congregation that knew about the abuse.
So much hidden documentation of child abuse that Watchtower does not want the public to know about.
I myself have been through a ton of abuse.
The problem of sexual abuse in the Jehovah's Witness organization is much, much more significant than in the Catholic Church.
The dirty little secrets are well kept.
Vice Versa presents Crusaders, Ex-Jehovah's Witnesses Speak Out.
All right. There you go. Sorry it was covered by, I believe it was, yeah, sorry it was covered by the chat and covered by my face a little bit. I forgot to turn them off. My goodness. Yeah, sorry I blabbed on forever and ever and ever. I did not mean to stay for almost 3 hours, but whenever it's just a discussion of ethics and Jehovah's Witnesses and, you know, countries banning them and all that other stuff, it can go on for quite a bit. I can go on for quite a bit. Anyway, if anybody has any thoughts that they'd like to share, you know, I invite you to leave me a comment. You know, even if it's like, I completely disagree with you and your position is wrong, I don't mind. Like, dissenting views are always welcome on my channel. You know, I like to hear people out. This is why this is so difficult for me, is because I can totally see both sides of this. Because there are different nuances that you have to consider. It's not all black and white. It's not all clean cut. Cut and dry. It's not all cut and dry. You know, it's not that simple. But bottom line, I do want the witnesses to be dismantled. I want the cult not to exist anymore. It's just a matter of how to get that done in an ethical way. And I don't know how to do that. Otherwise, I probably would be doing that. Best I can do is give people the power of information. So for now, that's what I do. All right, everybody. I think one person who's still watching this, but everybody else in the future who happens to make it this far, which, good for you. You have a really good attention span if you made it this far. You probably don't have ADHD like me, or you're being medicated for it. But yeah, thanks for sticking around. Thanks for hanging out. And if anybody ends up leaving me their opinions and thoughts and stuff, thank you for that. I do enjoy, you know, hearing everybody's opinions and getting different viewpoints and thoughts and points to consider. Knowledge is power, you know? And I really appreciate the ability to consider so many different viewpoints. You know why? Because I'm not in a cult anymore, and I don't have to just listen to only one viewpoint and be stuck with that. So I consider it a blessing. All right. Everybody take care, and hopefully tomorrow I'll have something lighter for you. You know, something cute and fun, and well, I guess it wasn't that fun when it happened. I'm talking about, of course, Snowocalypse that happened back in February. Hopefully that'll be more enjoyable to watch than this whole thing that just happened for almost 3 hours. Anyway, take care, everybody, and you have a fantastic evening. Try to get some sleep if you're like me and it's like 2 in the morning. Or don't. Play video games, whatever. Actually, I need to go play Animal Crossing. Oops. I gotta go get those Nook miles. Alright. Good night, everybody.